On February 9, 2004, a nursing student crashed on a snowy New Hampshire road, refused help twice, and vanished before police arrived. Where did Maura Murray go? Maura Murray was 21, a junior nursing student at UMass Amherst, raised in Hanson, Massachusetts. In early February 2004, she told professors by email that a death in the family required her absence. Her father, Fred, later said no relative had died. Campus records would show she had already missed about 12 days of classes without an excuse. She packed a car, withdrew cash from an ATM, bought alcohol, and pointed the Saturn north on Interstate 91. Friends and family would later argue about whether she was fleeing a relationship stress, a prior crash in her father's car days earlier, or something they still cannot name. The drive itself is ordinary, until Route 112 bends toward Woodsville. About 7:30 p.m. on February 9th, Murray's green 1996 Saturn slid into a snowbank on Route 112 near Woodsville, New Hampshire. Airbags deployed. The car remained drivable. She did not call a tow truck. Butch Atwood, a local bus driver, came upon the scene, stopped his bus, and walked to her window. He offered help twice. She said no and asked him not to call police. He went home and called anyway. When Haverhill police and a state trooper arrived within minutes, the Saturn was locked with her wallet, debit cards, cell phone, and keys inside. Murray was not on the road. Searchers worked the woods and fields that night and for weeks after. Tracking dogs followed a scent from the crash site to the road shoulder, then lost it. A witness reported seeing someone running on Route 112. Helicopters and ground teams swept the White Mountains corridor. No footprints in fresh snow led to a cabin or a second vehicle that night on the record. The Saturn was towed. Damage matched a slide, not a high-speed collision. Without her phone or ID, she could not have planned a long anonymous trip from that ditch unless someone waited out of sight. A theory police have never closed, but never proved. The campus email about a family death became its own exhibit. Professors had excused her briefly on faith. UMass later said she was not formally excused and had been absent 12 days. Her boyfriend received messages about needing time away. Fred Murray drove north within hours and would spend years posting flyers and pushing state police for answers. Massachusetts State Police joined New Hampshire within a day. The case moved from a roadside disappearance to a multi-state missing person file with a fabricated excuse at the center. That lie does not prove homicide. It proves she intended to be somewhere other than class before the crash. Days before Route 112, Murray had crashed her father's car in New Hampshire. Insurance paperwork and family accounts placed her in the state earlier that week. Upset, tired, and moving between campuses and home. Investigators asked whether the second crash was accident or staging. No witness placed a second car at the Saturn scene. The prior damage is context, not a map. It shows she was already on edge in the same geography where she would vanish. Podcasts and private searches would later turn that detail into theory. The police file keeps it as timeline. The FBI entered the case and later released age-progressed images showing how Murray might look years later. Tips flowed from across the country. In 2017, a contractor claimed he buried her on a property. Excavations found nothing tying to Murray. In 2022, New Hampshire authorities searched a home near Lincoln after a tip. Again, no confirmed link. Each burst of publicity produced ground searches and empty holes. The official stance remains: foul play cannot be ruled out, but no charging document exists. The age-progressed face is a poster, not a recovery. Fred Murray became the public face of the search, holding press conferences, criticizing delays, and posting rewards. He accused state police of treating the case as a runaway rather than a crime. Detectives countered that they followed every credible lead. The family split on whether Maura fled voluntarily or was taken. Without a body, both stories stay alive. Fred died in 2024, still without answers. The file now passes to siblings and internet investigators who map every ATM stop and gas station on her route north. None of them has produced a verified sighting. Replay the car inventory without speculation. Wallet, cards, phone, keys. A car that could still move. A woman who said no to a bus driver twice. Minutes between Atwood's call and police arrival. Dogs that quit at the pavement edge. An email that invented a death. 12 skipped classes. No second vehicle on the official report. Each item is documented. Together they force a narrow window. She left on foot in winter without money or a phone, or someone took her in that window. Police have not named which they believe. The missing person clock on Maura Murray now runs past 20 years. Podcasts, documentaries, and private teams have walked the same woods state police walked first. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office says the investigation continues. No remains. No arrest. The last agreed facts are a crash, a refusal, and an empty road when blue lights arrived. Everything after that is inference. This documentary keeps the inference labeled and the documents in order. Investigators preserved each detail in chronological reports that families, detectives, and later reviewers still cite when the case returns to the news. Butch Atwood's account never shifted. He offered help. She declined. He called police from home. Skeptics ask whether anyone else stopped in those minutes. Official files center on Murray's choice to walk. Winter nights on Route 112 drop below freezing. Without coat or phone in the car inventory, voluntary flight into the woods is hard medicine. Abduction in a 3-minute gap is also hard without a witness car. The case lives in that difficulty, not in a clean villain. Investigators preserved each detail in chronological reports that families, detectives, and later reviewers still cite when the case returns to the news. She crashed on Route 112, said no to help, and was gone when police arrived. Her wallet and phone stayed in the Saturn. Search dogs lost her at the road. A campus email lied about a death in the family. 20 years later, no body and no arrest. The file ends at the snowbank, not at a courtroom. If you want the next case built the same way, documents first and no invented ending, stay with that rule. Investigators preserved each detail in chronological reports that families, detectives, and later reviewers still cite when the case returns to the news. Subscribe if you want the next case broken down the same way.